Slides desde YouTube, ¿no?
Sí.
Ahí el vaso está quedando de beso. Yo no. Ya le dije, güey. Chivas.
Debe ser que. ¿Te ayudan, no?
No. Sí está bien, ¿no? La distancia.
Yo creo que le falta más para atrás, ¿verdad? ¿O no?
Sí, para que se vean los...
No. Aquí no se ve.
Ella no se ve, ¿verdad?
Aquí ya no se ve. Salvo que... Juntamos más fácil. A ver, ahí.
Yo todavía tengo un cachito, ¿no?
Sí, más acerca. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Cómo estás?
Aquí. Sí, aquí cabe perfecto.
Mira. ¿Sí, no?
Sí.
Aunque le falta un poquito todavía hacia este lado.
También traigo atrás para los dos.
Y si mueves la mesa, ahí está más fuerte.
Para atrás, hacia atrás la mesa.
Y tantito hacia atrás, ajá.
Ahí.
Un poquito más todavía. Gírala hacia acá. Menos, un poquito menos. Está perfecto.
¿Ese no es tu reloj?
Sí.
Una vez apaña.
Buenos días.
Gracias, ya.
Gracias.
Ya sacamos una.
Sí.
Gracias.
No, yo dejé la mitad. Esas son nuevas. Sí, porque son ¿quién?
No,
Yo ya lo vi.
¿Lo tienes? No, es que siento que voy. Déjame, busco otro. No, algo más, Es que si lo empiezo a oprimir, voy a maltratar el libro.
La bocina.
Pero
Pero ahí están las
¿Sabes?
pistas de la bocina.
Sí, algo más.
Sí, esa es una cosa. De hecho, una positividad, ¿no? Pero de que ahí.
No, no sé de qué sea, pero igual es
Mira, yo vi que puedo hacer ya transmisiones por YouTube. No la había visto. No.
Pero sí les dijiste.
Sí. Pero la posibilidad era este bote para allá.
Sí,
Sí se ve, ¿verdad?
porque mañana tenemos una cita.
Esa la meteré un poco.
A ver, prende la lámpara de ahí atrás. A ver si le dan bien acción.
No apenas el teléfono porque el Shine ganó la copa.
¿Qué tal, profe?
Cómete tú ese, güey, se te va a enfriar.
Mis cosas.
¿Le pongo contrapeso?
Sí.
Ese es mío.
Sí, porque esto
Ese se va, ¿no?
le va a ganar.
Sí,
Sí.
se va a ir.
A ver, si el equilibrio.
Igual cala y yo aquí lo estoy agarrando.
Sí.
Yo creo que más bien de enfrente, ¿no?
Enfrente. A ver, Oscar, mi mochila está pesada, esa sí está bien pesada.
Pues más bien para acá, el contrapeso, ¿no?
No, sí, más bien.
Por eso, en la segunda bolsa traigo la herramienta. Con esa.
Tengo otra mesa allá afuera.
Ahí está.
Por si es más fácil. ¿Tú no quieres hablar de la
¿Puedo
cultura?
pasar al baño?
Sí.
Ya, o paso a la baño.
¿Qué pasa? Sí.
Pues sí.
Unas llaves. Ah, ok, sí. ¿Las de otra? Sí, no.
Todavía el baño sigue disponible más que el baño.
Lo están haciendo. Igual pasas ahorita. Acaba de pasarlo. Igual ahorita que salga.
¿Esta gorra es tuya, más?
Sí, chala.
Sí, no, imagino que esa va a ser la experiencia cuando estaba.
Y nos llevaron el domingo, ¿qué lugar se llama?
¿Cuál?
Llevaron allá a Xochitl.
¿Cuándo?
Y estábamos con un poco de eso ahí en Xochitl.
¿Pero de qué?
De la plaza, digo, no. Se veía padre.
¿Ese día estaban?
No es que te llevaron una en la tarde.
Ah, la flor de cannabis.
Ajá.
No, esa quedó en tercer lugar.
Fue la tercera.
Sí. Eso fue en tercer lugar.
Sí, me falta un cable. Están bien chidos esos micrófonos, ¿sí?
Se han de escuchar bien nítido, ¿no? Hay forma de gastar 5,000 o más, ¿no?
Más.
Sí, unos
Sí.
8,000. O más el micrófono.
Nada más el micrófono.
Más aparte de los brazos.
Sí. No, pues es que cuando te gusta algo,
Sí, pues sí, le metes, le inviertes. ¿Dónde? Sí.
póngala.
Lo voy a borrar tu noche.
Sí. Siento que este brazo es más grande, este es más grande.
El micrófono.
Ah, sí.
Ah, sí, igual.
¿Paso el vitralero para acá?
Nada más es una prueba en la compra.
¿Cómo? Ay, córtala. No.
Cuando fui bajo. A ver, vamos. No tiene que estar enfocada más hacia abajo.
¿No se ven los micrófonos?
Sí. No, hacia abajo, hacia abajo, el cuadro de letras.
Espera, yo estoy. Pero se ve es más hacia allá.
Bájale un poquito. Ahí está. Ahí está.
Esa botella no va.
La botella. Pero ahorita queda bien.
Este se sigue viendo, ¿verdad?
Sí. Usted se ve.
Este se ve.
Este lo ves
A ver,
más.
siéntate para ver.
Entonces,
Sí.
si la voz es aquí,
¿Así?
no van a estar hablando.
¿Así?
Sí, debe estar esa altura.
Ahí está.
Más. No se ve.
Es que no se debe de ver. Te tienes que ver tú y así. Y mira, se alcanza a ver. Aquí está. Misma altura.
Todos los usaban, porque se ve el micrófono.
Está bien chido los micrófonos. Ahí yo sigo.
¿Y ese filtro de qué es de audio?
Sí, para cuando hablas como de cerca, proteger el micrófono de cierta forma. Me da un poco presumir el micrófono, ¿va? ¿Así?
Sí.
Ahí estás, a ver. Ahora.
Pero déjame la cosa ahí.
No, pues ahí nomás le hice siempre. A ver, Lu, ¿cómo ves? Siéntate.
Oh, se ve bien. Sí, esa luz ahí.
Sí, como que no. Parece como
Ajá, porque siento que la luz no.
¿Te gusta ahí? ¿No? Ya nada más cambiar tu computer.
Oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. And then now we need the link for the. Let's see. I can send you the link.
Se lo envía usted el link, profe, y ya usted lo reenvía.
Yeah, it's okay. You can send it.
Did you get the COVID results?
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's fantastic. Okay, I'm gonna send. Who should I send the link to?
You should
For
send
this.
it to Eduardo.
So we can log in on here.
No,
His
we
email.
can change to your laptop if you want it.
No. Let's just do it from here. It's fine.
¿Desde ahí? ¿Desde esta cuenta? Bueno, ya nada más tiene que entrar a su cuenta y...
Just log in on your account. That's it.
Oh no. This is I'm gonna have to email to what's the email that we can.
¿Cuál es el email de
This is
esta
gonna be a
profe?
link. We do it through different app.
Lo van a hacer en una app diferente.
Ah, ¿no es YouTube?
No, it's on YouTube, but we use the app. So
Es en YouTube, pero
what's
usamos
the
una app.
email address?
¿Cuál es el email de esta?
Eduardo Zafra.
Eduardo. With the U. No. Eduardo. R-D-L-O. Zafra. C. Zebra. Es el de antropología visual.
Eduardo Zafra, sí.
Ajá.
Eduardo Zafra.
Antropología visual. Ajá.
That one?
No, ya.
Ah, chícale, ¿no?
Sí.
Le escuchas lo que...
Okay,
¿Cómo
I
abro el
just-
correo en esta, profe?
I sent it.
Ya le envió el correo, profe.
Cannabis Future Project. ¿Vas a transmitir Cannabis Future Project?
Sí.
Va, ¿dónde abre el
We
correo?
get Fat Bastard here or no?
Vas,
Out there.
¿cuántos van a estar aquí?
Okay, so
How many people are they gonna be there,
How
like,
many
sitting
can-
here?
we can just start with the
Poco,
feel and-
uno a
We
uno.
can start to change it.
Yeah.
Ajá, vamos a
Cambiando.
empezar, ajá,
Ok,
cambiando.
entonces tú.
Switching.
Yeah, we need somebody to translate.
Basa.
Basa.
Ah, es que yo no sé hablar inglés.
What is it? Okay, so the link is emailed, so we just need to get up the.
Ya le mandó el link al email, profe.
¿Ok?
Ajá.
Sí, nada más
Al de
hay
aquí.
que.
A ver, ¿qué?
So we should log in that link.
Yep.
Entonces sí, ahora lo dicen, profe, para que ahí sea, yo creo, ese link de la app, ¿no?
StreamYard.
You click on there, and then
It's gonna be a live stream.
yeah.
What's the link so you can send it to Alex?
Okay, and then name James Loud on the bottom.
Games
Alright.
James.
Perfect. Okay, I think they can hear us. So yeah, enter.
Start.
No, está bien. Sí, gracias más cosas de cámara.
Okay, Peter. Can we hear Peter? Peter. Hey. Hola.
¿Sí tendremos audio?
He's saying you're behind the stage. There you go.
How's it going?
Creo que
Can you
necesitas
hear us? We can't hear.
audífonos.
Is there a microphone, the speaker on here too? For this?
La
Can we
bocina
turn off the
se-
speaker maybe?
La bocina de
Que si tiene bocina que le puedan subir a la computadora o que
Sí,
como lo pueden escuchar.
Oh yeah, we can hear
Dile
you
que
now.
las bocinas ahí tiene una bocina.
Okay, let's.
We have another speaker.
El sound will be-
No, this is
Tronada.
okay. Can you turn it up?
Oh, one of the speakers is busted.
It's okay. Well, it's mostly us fine. All right. Can you hear us, Peter?
No entras.
Ahora se escucha bien.
Bueno,
You can see me, right?
Yeah.
We can see you. We can hear you. Just
Can you guys see me? Okay, thumbs up. So actually, just quickly, in the microphone settings, because you can't hear me through the speakers, right?
Yeah, we can.
we can hear you through the speaker.
Well, you can hear me through the phone, but you can't hear me through the computer speakers, correct?
Oh, am I calling you right now? No.
Or why is this so?
Porque se escucha bien.
el doctor Catán.
El del otro lado se escucha bien.
Dani.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you totally. I can't hear you. No.
That just failed. Well, you can hear me now through the computer.
Yeah. How does our sound? Do we sound okay?
You guys are sounding weird now. You were sounding better. Are those little mics next to you?
These are little mics. Is that better if we
Are they
talk
on?
like that? Maybe we need to talk into this microphone. Is that better, Peter?
Talk.
Sí, creo que está escuchando la voz.
Can you tap on your microphone? I don't think I'm getting your microphone.
Oh, maybe it's only going through the. Oh, we need to select.
So you can go into the mic here. Wait, let me. Do you see this?
We need to select.
So if you go into the mic settings and then pick whatever
Okay, so
that
audio
microphone, like it's probably a USB mic or something.
microphone right here.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah,
is it?
USB audio device. There you go.
That one.
And the other one. And the other one.
Wait,
Ese es el altavoz, ¿no?
Sí. No. That's the speaker
That's
for
the
you guys.
speaker
So
one.
that should be the internal speakers. Yeah.
okay,
Okay, can you hear
That's
me right now?
that sounds amazing.
Okay, great. Okay,
It
good.
sounded like you were in space before.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad we're sounding better. So we can go.
Check,
Whenever, are we going to go live or are you already live?
check.
Check.
No, we're not live yet. Yeah, no. I wanted it because all right, so cool. So I heard myself when I talked, but now I don't. So you guys ready?
We're absolutely ready. Where's Wilson? For translation, we need to all squeeze in right here.
All right.
Okay.
All right, hold on. All right, you guys are looking cozy. It's like you have new best friends, and so we are now live, and reporting from Mexico is our lead Mexican correspondent, Mr. James Loud. Welcome, James Loud. What's going on?
Hey guys, how's it going? Glad to be here. Mexico City is absolutely amazing. I spent the last week here, and we've been seeing all kinds of fun things like pyramids, and there was a conference that I attended that I spoke at that invited me to come speak at it. It was absolutely amazing. And I have two guys here, two of my new good friends. This is Eduardo, and this is Rosa. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what you do in the community?
Bueno, yo soy Eduardo Zafra, tenemos a cargo un proyecto aquí en Ciudad de México que se llama Cannabis. Es un evento internacional de reducción del daño y riesgo con inspecciones y cultivos de cannabis. Y cada año invitamos a diferentes personalidades del mundo para que nos vengan a enseñar y nosotros podamos aprender, seguir mejorando procesos, técnicas. En cuando estamos hablando de extracciones de cannabis y cultivos.
My name is Rosa. I work for the project here in Mexico City called Cannabis, and it's an event that works with different types of education and risk reduction for people inside the industry. So every year we invite people from all over the world to teach us how to have better processes during extraction, talk about genetics, exchange information with everybody right now. Yeah, excellent. The event was absolutely amazing. So just so you guys understand, Mexico, and they legalized marijuana earlier this year, I believe in May. And there's no real regulations. The legalization is 5 grams or less. You can have 6 plants or less. And
Este año y ahorita hay una regulación muy extraña donde solo te permiten portar con 5 gramos o menos.
Sí, pues de hecho es una mal llamada ley porque está dejando la voz y todas las personas que han contribuido al movimiento porque lo están sectorizando hacia una parte de la población y entonces no hay un beneficio real con esta ley, por eso es mal llamada, ¿no?
So it shouldn't even be called a law because it's very limiting to consumers and it's not respecting all the other people that came before us that are in jail, etc., that have to be, treated with respect the same way we expect to be treated with respect. And it's such a mess right now. It's such a gray market that it shouldn't even be called a law.
yeah, I agree. I do have to say the cannabis in Mexico City is amazing. I had no expectations going in, regardless of what it was, because of course, coming from California and growing up in the United States, we saw Mexican marijuana. Most of it had lots of seeds in it. It was bricked up. It was not considered top quality. But the stuff I've seen down here rivals, the best stuff rivals a lot of the metric cannabis in the United States. I feel like there's a lot of passion. There's good genetics. We're going to go into the genetics aspect of Mexico and kind of where they're at with some of the other farmers, cultivators, and breeders today. But let's see, as far as the genetics that you've seen, what kind of progress, how long has it taken to get to the point where we're at today?
Vamos a hablar un poco de genética y su pregunta es, en tu experiencia, ¿cómo ha sido la evolución genética a través de la selección que te ha tocado a ti experimentar para llegar al punto en el que estamos ahorita?
Pues ha sido prácticamente ya un recorrido de más de 10 años. Primero de manera personal, como un hobby, y hace unos años ya como un proyecto con personas, recursos humanos definidos. Entonces, son procesos que no son nada cortos, porque obviamente estamos hablando de selección e identificación y pues la cruza, ¿no? Por eso son procesos de años y cada vez sigue creciendo justo este fenómeno. Ahorita en la casa también estuvimos como invitado al proyecto Podbusters. Justo seguimos conociendo nuevas caras, nuevos actores dentro del movimiento y eso es muy importante. Entonces son procesos lentos, pero que están dando resultados.
So I've been inside this process for over 10 years. First started as a consumer, the same as a lot of people. And throughout the years and later years, it started becoming more of a professional project. I've seen so many things happen, but it's been a very, very long process, and it's still ongoing. We invited Fat Busters, for example, and we've seen so many new faces, and we keep on meeting all these new people, and it just keeps on growing, and we keep on seeing these changes. But for sure, it's not a fast process by any means, but it is showing us the results that we were expecting 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So when was the first time you saw good cannabis, like good high-end cannabis like we're seeing now? Is it the last year, last 2 years?
¿Cuándo fue la primera vez que viste cannabis de una calidad como la que estamos viendo ahora? ¿Hace un año, 2 años?
No, ya tiene como unos 12, 13 años.
It's been like 12, 13 years.
12 or 13 for the indoor cultivation.
Sí, a partir de cultivos indoor en la Ciudad de México.
We don't get to see the good stuff in the United States, so.
De hecho,
Limited
minutos más
productions.
adelante viene aquí
Doesn't make it outside of Mexico.
los cultivadores aquí en Ciudad de México.
What was that, Peter?
I just said it doesn't make it outside. They keep the good stuff to themselves.
They do keep the good stuff to themselves. But
But
I'll tell you,
they're limited productions for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, I've seen good quality European genetics and U.S. genetics. They have all the stuff down here, along with versions. Bosa is a breeder as well. Tell us a little bit about your seed company.
So my project's called Green Germ Genetics.
Yeah.
And the point of it all was I started giving seeds away to people because the green germ was something I wanted to, I want to give people the green germ, right? Instead of giving them COVID, I'll give them seeds and they'll grow them out and it'll start spreading like wildfire.
Yeah.
So what I mostly try to focus understanding the history of genetics in Mexico, because as you guys probably know, there's so many hybrids up to this point that it's very, very, very hard to find something that's actually like a heirloom Mexican strain.
Right. Everything's hybridized.
Yeah, everything's hybridized. So I've been trying to collect and also
Is this him?
yeah, that's me.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, so finding heirlooms is very hard. I think a lot of people think that landrace just grow free in the wild, and then you can go to these regions and find them.
Yeah.
But the problem is a lot of Europeans and Americans have come down and shred their genetics down, and because of speed of harvest or of hype, a lot of people have bred in these varieties to the heirloom varieties that were they cultivated in those regions.
For sure. And what we're trying to do right now is take back some of those genetics, try and select them for more marketable appearances, right?
Yeah.
And through that, what we're trying to do is introduce genetics that are kind of forgotten in Mexico and try to educate through people trying these different genetics and trying out these different seeds and growing them, coming to shows like these and events like these and trying to educate people about genetics and the value that there's still to be held in the genetics in Mexico.
So you have an interesting background. You went to Oaksterdam University.
Yeah.
What year did you go?
A couple of years ago, actually, like 2018. Yeah, 2019, something like that.
Wow. So yeah, he's a breeder that breeds with purpose. There's a lot of breeders out there. People claiming to be breeders. I think that most people are actually seed producers, even though they call themselves breeders. And it is what it is. But the stuff that you're doing, the crosses, he's working with Malawi and some African strains.
Yeah.
And purposefully breeding genetics, which I think is very interesting. Yeah. And then how did you guys meet?
We met through a common friend of ours. His IG is High Grade Genetics, and he's actually one of the guys that helped organize all this. So he brought me over to help translate for Max Monrose from Trichome Institute.
Yeah.
And we started hanging out. They liked the work I did, translating, etc. So now every year they do an event. They'll invite me to come over, and I'll do translations like these.
Yeah, you're good at translating. He translated my speech. he's able to think and talk at the same time,
Yeah.
which is a rare trait, I think.
It's good I have so much ADHD.
I don't know if we can isolate that trait, but that's a good one. But so, and then Eduardo is also part of Santa Rosa Green Seeds.
Yeah.
Santa Rosa down here, not Santa Rosa, California. But yeah, they're a
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. There's a lot of similarities between names in California and names in Mexico.
But maybe he can explain what Santa Rosa means here in
Yes.
Mexico, right?
Please.
So, dice que tú eres parte de un colectivo que se llama Santa Rosa Green Seeds, que no es la Santa Rosa de California. Y le digo que tal vez puedes explicar un poco por qué la Santa Rosa, ¿no? ¿Cuál es el significado?
Sí, claro. Santa Rosa Green Seeds obviamente toma como referente las culturas otomíes del país, que son culturas que tienen a la cannabis como deidad, le rinden culto y ritual cada año. Entonces, Santa Rosa, como le llaman los otomíes aquí en México, Green Seeds, por tener un idioma planetario.
So, Santa Rosa comes from the Otomí communities here in Mexico, which is the only culture, the indigenous culture in Mexico that holds the Santa Rosa cannabis as its deity. So that Santa Rosa comes from that, and then Green Seeds is just to have a more universal language for everyone to understand.
Right.
But the Santa Rosa comes from honoring the plant as a deity that's been given to us to worship and work with.
Yeah, one thing I think we can all agree on, especially the people in Mexico, is that cannabis is a sacred plant. We've been talking about this for the whole week. And I think people get it more down here than they do in the United States as far as on the sacred aspect of it. And, it's something that all of our ancestors used. Well, not all of them used, but the ones that did considered it sacred.
Si algo que hemos estado hablando esta semana, que todos entendemos, que tal vez en México se entiende más que en otros lugares, es que esta es una planta sagrada con la que estamos trabajando.
Well, who else do we have to interview today?
We've got all these guys.
Oh my God! So
that's the breeder from Santa Rosa.
Let's get the breeder from Santa Rosa down here. So
So, can these guys talk? So I have two different directions of questions. One is about kind of like the old heirloomy stuff and like, what's some stuff that's unique to Mexico, and like, is it from like high in the mountains? Is it from the jungle, like the tropical regions? Is it in terms of what the market wants going forward? You talked about Mexico understanding the sacred plan, and I made a joke, sacred is coming soon. So is it in the Mexican market, are consumers and breeders going to want or push like old heirloomy stuff, or kind of like the modern LA hype strain, crosses and stuff?
It's a blend of both. I would say that what I'm seeing is people interested in taking old world genetics and making new genetics with modern varieties, but also taking Mexican stuff and crossing it with African varieties. But the stuff that's the original landrace stuff that was here was cultivated. I would say geoclimatized varieties is the best way to describe it. They grew what was best and selected for what grew best in those regions.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do now is what they were doing for many, many, many years before us. Now we're going back and identifying that OG Kush doesn't grow good in tropical regions. And if you want that terpene profile, you're going to have to breed towards it with stuff that has more of an open bud structure. So
the thing is, not all regions are tropical. Right? So the cool thing about Mexico, the special thing that makes heirlooms as special as they are here, is that it has so many microclimates.
Yeah.
It's got every single climate besides tundra. Right? So you can grow every single kind of variety in all these different types of climates. But yeah, mostly people are hybridizing them with, the LA hype and then turning them into something that's...
Even the tundra, someone was telling me about how they grow in the hottest part of the desert, where they actually dig trenches and they grow in trenches because under the soil it's much cooler temperature. And so, because the root zone, they were telling me this the other day, I was kind of blown away that you could grow in such 115-degree Fahrenheit temperatures because the soil temperature is cool.
Yeah.
And so that was mind blowing to me. You know, it's like people adapt and evolve along with the plant. The plant's adapting and evolving in those terms of regions.
The Afghans have only been doing it for the last like 10,000 years. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we need an introduction here.
Si puedes hablar de quién eres y qué es el proyecto.
Sí, I'm gonna try to talk in English too.
Your English is good.
Thank you so much. If I have any complications, Marcel is gonna help me. But my name is Dr. Green. I'm the phyto scientist to try to develop the Mexican marijuana. I'm working in Santa Rosa Green Seeds. We are using the Mexican genetics to develop our seeds. Taking in account Mexican genetics historically has played a very important thing in the international community, cannabis community, because the Mexican genetics were used to develop, as example, the skunk. In the haze, we can find Mexican genetics too in a lot of plants. There are a lot. But the thing in Mexico is that we have traditional plants, Mexican land races, that keep a very important genetic pool where you can choose new characteristics, new flavors, because in the big market today, we find genetics very good, but talking about gens, there are really limited. So in the all land races, we can find new possibilities to breed the new strain. We have this project. There are 3 parts in this project. The first one is work with Mexican traditional plants. The second thing is keep the traditional plants like in a kind of conservation work. And the third one is like cross Mexican genetics with all possibilities. American, European, African seeds. We got a project too, working in Humboldt, California, Matul Valley, crossing the Mexican strains with the American, and really nice results. So we have 3 special lines.
So they specialize in reproduction, preservation, and hybridization.
Right. Yeah. So the other day I was a guest I was also a guest judge at a private cup that they had here for the seed company. And do you want to tell us a little bit about the cup and kind of how that evolved? It was very special.
Yeah, sure.
And can you move the mic a little closer to him?
We can slide up a little closer. Yeah. It might not be that mic. We got two mics. I'm not sure which one's live.
Yeah, well, if that doesn't work, we'll just move this one.
Yeah.
Let's hear. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfecto.
So that's
okay. This year we have organized the first Santa Rosa Marijuana Cup. We are trying to develop the growing habits of good growing ¿cómo se puede decir? Procedures. The thing is that all the growers are growing the same seed to have the same possibilities, the same basis to start with, and we are trying to find a really good growing master. No?
Master grower.
Master grower, yeah, exactly. It's really interesting here because we don't have this kind of events until now. We have the common Cannabis Cup, but everybody
can go with his own strain, even with another. But everybody is like in the competition are not in the same conditions. So we are looking for all the workers have the same things to work with.
Yeah, so we were looking at one variety.
So the mic that he has, I think, is the live mic. So just move it a little. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yep, can you hear me better now?
Yep, can you hear?
Fantastic. So in the cup that we were at, they had one variety, one cultivar that they had made seeds from, and then everybody had gotten seeds from it, and we got to see the different expressions from the same variety. And it was all over. It was very heterozygous, so there was lots of genetic lines that you could see, lots of different expressions. Some that were extremely strong in THC, and some that were lower. We had one that was very haze-like, and others that were very gassy. So it was unique seeing all these different things in the line that these came from.
Did they reveal what it was at the end?
Well, they knew because it was internal. So we had talked about the cross. What was the cross that was used?
The cross where
Move the mic back to him.
is all.
You're in charge of Mike.
It was a new cross between Santa Rosa green seeds lines. Now it's not a traditional plants. The seeds are now Santa Rosa green seeds material. So it was like a cross between two kinds of sativas from the Pacific side in Mexico. One of them grow very, very tall, similar to the critical mass. Big one, big buds, smells like sweet flavors too. The other one, it came from Nayarit, from the coast, with lime flavors. It's a sativa too. It was a hybrid sativa. It was an experimental line too. So this was the first generations F1 that had.
Yeah, it's definitely, there was a lot of diversity there. Yeah, fun stuff. So for the future of Santa Rosa Seed Company, what do you see as the future? You plan on expanding all over Mexico?
Yeah, I think for the future, it's going to be a good opportunity to develop the Mexican seeds bank and the Mexica's flower market, because unfortunately in Mexico there are good flowers, but not everybody can get access to it. There are a lot of people who is smoking bad material, really not good thing, and we hope that with the legalization thing help us to develop the marijuana market and the marijuana seeds banks too. I hope the next year we are gonna have something interesting in the laws. I hope, and if it's like this, Santa Rosa is gonna try to get legal to be the first Mexican seed bank. Working with traditional genetics and with the new genetics.
Yeah, they're in line to be the first seed company in Mexico, like a legal seed company.
Does he have an Instagram?
Santa Rosa Green Seeds is their Instagram.
Yeah,
found it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, perfect.
You can see a picture.
Oh my God, the mask matches. You're on brand. The mask matches.
Okay.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the mask.
The mask is a special thing because we know that the marijuana development is not a personal work; it's a human work. no, thousands and thousands of years working with the plant, developing the plant until now. So the mask is to represent not a person, if not the cannabical movement in this vision. And it represents Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa image. Santa Rosa is not just a plant. Santa Rosa is a powerful plant, magical plant, that a sacred plant too here. So it represents not a marijuana, it's not Santa Rosa. Cannabis and the magical religious, not religious, but magical and the spiritual plants. So and Mexican thing too, because the wrestling in Mexico is really popular. So the mask is like a new combination of the marijuana situation in Mexico. Not the popular thing, the sacred thing, and the private thing. The like recreational things. Marijuana.
So do you wrestle?
No, but I wish someday.
Someday, yeah. Come to America.
For sure.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, to be here, and a special regrets to Humboldt, California, Matur Valley, Honeydew Republic.
Yeah, so we had at the event that I was at, I was the keynote speaker. We had Adam from Archive Seeds came out, and then we had this gentleman right here, that Bud Sturt.
Hola.
He's a great guy. He's a breeder as well. And what's your name?
Danny Grover.
Danny Grover. So these guys are amazing.
You too, buddy.
Hey, thank you very much. We've had a great week together.
Yeah, we did.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, my name is Danny Grover.
And that, James, remember you're on mic duty. Slide that mic. There we go. Look at him doing your job for you.
Is it better now for him?
Is it better there?
Is it better?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yep.
Well, my name is Danny Grover. I am a grower and an activist for marijuana in Mexico since 2000. I've been starting growing weed since 2008. And then I started making the Cannabis Cups in Mexico and being a judge in Cannabis Cups in Spain, in Colombia, and in Mexico. Now I'm working with THC Crew and Flor de Cana. Flor de Cana, it's a pack of pre-roll joints that we made like 4 years ago.
Wow.
And now we're making like a lot of those joints. The people, they really liked it. And those are my two principal products right now, THC Crew and Flor de Cana.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I love growing. Why I started growing weed? Because I don't really like weed when I know weed the first time. Because it was like, what the hell is this? Because it's brick weed, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, it smells bad, it tastes bad. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the people look in the thing. But
sure.
But one day, a friend of mine came from France with hashes.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, what the fuck is this? Because he put me a Pink Floyd. Wow. And I was hearing Darkness of the Moon with this first joint of shit, and I was like really triggered.
Yeah, spiritual experience.
Real spiritual experience. And that was the first time I was like, okay, so I really need to start knowing about the weed. Yeah. What is the weed? What is marijuana? What's cannabis? So with this curiosity breathing inside of me, it was like, okay, I want to try the weed that I can look at on a magazine, you know? Yeah. I was here reading at High Times or Cannabis Culture, and it was like, we were reading that they have these lights, these closets, and they were growing weed in their houses, and I was like, dude, they are the ones that grow weed here, they are narcos, dude, and they have like really big things, and I want to grow my own weed, you know?
Yeah.
So I started growing weed. At that time, when I was starting growing weed in Mexico, it was difficult to find the real necessary equipment. It was like, okay, this light bulb on the street, I need it too. Okay, that's all. I mean, no.
Street lights.
Yeah, because
high pressure sodium street lights.
Yeah,
because we've used them in the States too before.
I know that the first time I picked a light from the street, it was the idea I took it from High Times.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, I'm in this house, so that's the way they grow there. Well, before having all the things, okay, let's do the thing. So I started growing it.
My first light was also from a parking garage. We use a Phototron, which is a box that you grow one plant in.
Yeah.
and I got this smart idea to cut the top off and put a street light above it, and grew it in my closet. So that was my first. Was actually a street light, as was high pressure sodium street light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just quickly, Danny, do you have an Instagram?
Yeah, I have a F. Well, one is THC2MX, and the other one is FD Canna. That's how you can find Flor de Canna on Instagram, or even on Facebook. You can find us. Yeah,
There we go.
that one.
So I guess a great thing to talk about now would be the hash. They got fucking good hash here.
Yeah,
They got really good hash here.
yeah.
It's really impressive. We're talking not just bubble hash. There's European hash too. Frenchie came over and he showed people how to make temple balls before he passed. I guess that was last year.
Yeah.
Frenchie was here and did his seminar and some workshops and taught people how to make hash. So we have the Frenchie style hash, but also we have rosin and we have bubble hash that's just as good as anything that you'll find in the United States. And the rosin, I mean, they smoke dabs here. They smoke dabs here just like we do at home. Along with the new expectations, I wasn't sure what to expect when I came down here as far as where the hash was or anything. They've got $1,000 glass rigs and they've got big torches and everything else, just like we do. And they appreciate it just the same. They get just as high as we do, maybe more.
Probably.
Yeah, if you blend the mezcal.
Yeah, especially if you mix it with this color.
Yeah.
That's funnier.
Yeah.
Way funnier.
Yeah. Where are you going to sleep soon?
Probably, yeah.
So
After
Slide that mic back over.
Yep, we're going over to Fat Buster right here.
Yeah, I would say after 30 years old, you will go to sleep early. For sure.
Yeah, so Fat Buster is a public figure here. He lectures on breeding.
Yeah.
He did the other day along with myself and Eddie. I can't remember Eddie's name.
Mountainside.
Mountainside Organics. And Eddie does living soil. We have guys doing living soil down here. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I think your genetics are pretty good. He gave me some of the flour.
And just quickly, what's his IG?
What's that?
What's his Instagram?
Oh, Fat
Dusk.
Budstard, right?
Yeah, like bot, but you complete it with the bastard word.
Yeah.
Bastard.
They love puns here in Mexico.
So I see Fat Budstards with an S on the end.
Yeah, you have to add a jab after fat, so you go directly to the account. There's another one that is _BU, but that's my backup. So if you want to see the latest picture, you should go to the main page. That one.
Which one?
The second
The one I'm on?
Second one.
This. All right.
The one without any addition. Fat box. There you go. Yeah.
This one.
Yes, that's the correct one. They're trying to fix something here in the middle.
Yeah, we do have a.
This has been a 24 hours of audio problems.
Yeah. So
I'll tell after you guys jump off. I'll tell everybody my last night's Baddies Bears audio engineering moment.
Oh wow. Yeah. So Fat Buster's breeds some interesting genetics. You want to tell us a little bit about your varieties?
Yeah. Well, originally, the reason why I started to do this whole thing is because when I was 20 years old, I lived in Vancouver for 6 years. And before I started smoking weed when I was 11, I was a kid that got kicked off from his house and find the best persons of my life because that get me to know this plant. So when I moved to Canada, I tried the best weed that I tried at that time, right? Everything, it was a game changer. Before, as you mentioned, we used to smoke brick weed with fungus, with a lot of different chemical shit on it. And I mean, it is what it is, right? What we have, we smoke it, we were happy as well as the way that we are doing it right now. But when I moved to Canada, I found what really quality cannabis means, right? I found they grow this legendary BC Kush, which is pretty much an OG Kush phenotype that they kind of like been having there for a while. So that weed was amazing. So when I first started,
what years were you in Vancouver? Ballpark? Like what were you like in the early 2000s?
2006, I started living in Vancouver, and I lived there until 2012. I used to, I learned from Mark and his team, you know Mark Emery. He used to have a cannabis school place down there where you can actually go get seeds, get mushrooms, but also you get to get information, and they teach you how to grow this amazing plant, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I started doing that. It was sad. I was really sad when I needed to come back to Mexico because I was planning to come back to that shitty weed, right?
Yeah.
So at the time that I worked in Vancouver, I got a job offer from some of the guys that were growing the best weed, which is what I tried up there in Vancouver. This guy Chris, this guy helped me all I know about growing right now. So I learned a lot of things. So whenever I start working with him, I get interested on making some crosses. I didn't understand the genetics at that point. This guy kind of like point me to the point where I learned that at the end of the day, the goal is to do homogeneous genes into the plant so you can offer it to the market, right? But for us, everything was about to find the best shit that we can actually sell on the streets in Vancouver. That was the first aspect, right? When I get back to Mexico, I brought some of the seeds that I made, which I call it Fat Buster OG, which is an OG Kush phenotype, the one that they have out there in Vancouver. And I crossed it with the Skittles that we get. At that time, Skittles kind of like was the hit. So we get it, we work with it. I honestly did not pop anything of that because when I did the cross, I just grab my seeds, get back to Mexico. And whenever I get to Mexico, I spend like 4 years trying to get something right to grow, right? I used to grow at my home, you know, those plants on your garden that you can smoke by yourself. But that was it, especially because I did not, in the city that I live, I'm not here from Mexico City, I'm from Guadalajara. So especially up there wasn't many culture about this. I think Mexico City is way bigger than us in that aspect, right? I did the talk on the Trajinera, and there was like 200 people out there. If you do this in our city, you may probably find 20 or 25 guys in that, right? So it's how small it is, especially when we think that we're the second most important city in Mexico, right? So yeah, when I started to do this and I started to smoke my weed, which wasn't like the same weed that I used to smoke up there, which was hydro, getting with the best environment. So, but it was good shit, right? I remember those flavors and I had it, so it wasn't that bad. But then there was one time when I was like, fuck, everybody should be trying this shit, right? It's not fair that we're still smoking really shitty weed from the narco, which is what we're all smoking, right? All that weed that they actually dry in the sun, after they cut it, they just put it in a brick, and now it's very expensive. Even that shit is expensive here in Mexico. So it's not fair for that. So
California outdoor weed is cheaper than Mexican.
Probably now, yeah. And that was the time when I said, you know what, fuck it. I need to start talking to the people, showing them what I learned up there in Vancouver, at least my friends, so we can at least have a community where we smoke good shit. So yeah, we started that way. I do work as an engineer for the IT company. So that company makes me to fly all around the world. So every time that I was going to a specific place, I just go online trying to find someone where I can actually trade or buy seeds from. Because at that time, 4 years ago, it was really, really hard for Mexicans to get seeds. If you don't go to Amsterdam, you're fucked. You barely can get those, right? 3 years ago, I used to travel a lot to Germany, and I found a place in Austria, which is on the boundary, where for some reason, if you get one pack, they give you two for any European bank, right? So I start getting those for my catalog for me. But as soon as I start getting 2 of them, I was just giving away the other ones to my friends. Then a lot of people start asking me for seeds, and that's when I said, okay, you know what? I know how to do this. I've been on this for a while. Probably I can just put that product on the market, not to make money because I have a wealthy work, but to actually go visit friends and smoke the best weed all around the Mexico country, right? Which is what we're planning here. We try to bring up the best genetics that you guys have and put it in a cheaper price down here, so it's accessible for people. People here in Mexico, they cannot pay $100 for a pack.
Or 420.
Or 420. Yeah. We try to get them for 10, 20 bucks, so people get to start growing. I'm also the talk that I did on the event that these guys invited me. It's about how to make seeds, feminized seeds. So they know how to do their own seeds. They have their own work. So now we can grow together, right? And we can find best weed.
Let's talk about your feminized process. You use STS.
Yeah, well, I originally started with colloidal silver. It's a pain in the ass. You have to do it every day. I started researching. I'm kind of like a geek in this type of item, so I learned how ethylene works, and it was like a game changer for me. I understand that thiosulfate gets into the cell faster than the colloidal silver, so that's what I use. I do my own tests. I did my own reversal spray. I think now that I dialed it in, because now I only have to spray it once and wait for 3 weeks so I can see the bolts on the.
You only spray one time.
Yeah, one time before 6 days before I switch to flower.
So twice, 2 sprays.
No,
just one.
only once.
1 6 days before flower.
And that's it. My plants, they barely show pistils because we block the ethylene before it actually starts generating a lot at the night. So I think it works for me because when I used to do it differently before spraying several times, I used to get no pollen from plants. I get the exact same clone doing it with my previous method, which is spraying several times. And I did it this way, and I get a lot of pollen doing it this way than actually reversing at the time where, every week applying the SDS into it. It works for me. I get a lot of pollen, and I get to provide a lot of people with seeds, which is the best part.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Guys, I want to take a moment before I jump. I really want to thank these guys for doing this. This event is amazing. We get to learn from the guys that we admire. So it's really nice that we start doing this in Mexico, and hopefully you guys can continue with this project. It's amazing. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thank you for having me here.
You're welcome every time you're coming to Mexico.
It's fantastic. So, how are you doing?
And just quickly before we keep going, is like dabbing becoming big? Like is rosin and dabbing becoming big in Mexico, or like are most people still smoking flower?
No, they smoke everything. They smoke joints. They smoke. I see people smoke tobacco with hash. I've seen people dab with. I think there's a rig right. We got the rig back here. You want to grab the rig? And then let's see the hash too. Like the rosin. We got some rosin. They're smoking. This is a standard rig with a nice bucket. And it's amazing. Do we have some hash that we can show? Go ahead. Set this down. That's some rosin. No, that's bubble beach.
Why don't you guys pick something to smoke right now?
Yeah, we can. There's some Moonbow down here. This Moonbow hash is ridiculous. This hash rosin, I think. No, this one. See, this is hash rosin. Yeah, and this one, it's hard to kind of see here. Let's see if I can get it into the camera. But yeah, you can get it real close there. We're talking about the quality of award-winning stuff that blows my mind. Lots of terps, and Moonbow, that's that Dosey times Skittles, and then back to the Skittles from Archive. So they've got good American genetics down here, and only more to be expected, I'm sure. The stuff they're creating is pretty amazing. So we need an introduction.
Well,
And move the mic.
Oh,
We'll have to move you a little closer because I don't think we can move the mic. If we touch the mic, it's gonna fall. And that's
Bubble Hash.
that's some bubble.
that's some Moonbow Hash.
So we got a hand model.
This is us. Well, thanks for the invitation.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm Miguel Hernandez, also known as Doctor Catanarico, which is a game of words between tasting and cannabis. Catador de cannabis. And I started the first Grow Your Own group
We'll have you slide.
in 2000, and I don't know, it has 9 or 10 years
Yeah.
running. So I'm like a information spreader, I would like to call it like that. And I've been helping people to grow since then.
Yeah.
I mean, like answering their questions and doing my own reading, because I know it's not research if you don't are running a clinical, experiment with other scientists doing, tests and just reading and spreading information for the people to achieve their goals in terms of good things.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing since then. And now, after all, you have to hide. Back in the day, it wasn't like free to do as it is now. And I mean, it's legal, or it's a constitutional right for us Mexicans and everyone that lives here, because it says person. It doesn't say Mexican, I mean, in the law, or in the declaration that they made, that cannabis is a constitutional right for us to grow. So growing your own weed in Mexico is not a very big loophole in law. So it's kind of very legal now.
So there's only 3 places you can smoke in public in Mexico City. Can you tell us a little bit about the?
But you can smoke as long as everyone agrees with it. I mean, if there's people 15 to 20 meters around, you can go ask them if they agree with you lighting or not. But it may be a public park, right? It might be a designated smoke area in a building which is about to end. That you will no longer be able to smoke in any building, and I mean restaurant and
No tobacco either.
no tobacco. No, I mean tobacco for now,
Okay.
because it was really the same.
Yeah.
Tobacco and weed, like you're smoking, okay? And there's gonna be like a side where entering is like your consent
Right.
for them to smoke. So weed allowed, and you are entering a place that is weed allowed, so you can complain about it and make no trouble.
So I've seen some plants in Mexico City growing in the park.
Oh yeah.
They got plants growing in their park down here.
In the
It's
highways.
part of the it's a protest.
Senate.
In front of the Senate as well. They protest by growing plants in front of the Senate, growing plants in parks.
Yep.
Very, very different from the United States. But it's a beautiful thing. And I met one of the cultivators that grows, and he's very passionate about cannabis and politics.
Yeah, Miguel.
Yeah.
It's my tocayo. We have the same name. And saludos a mi tocayo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great work that they are doing there. I mean, they are taking the plant and showing it to all the people that doesn't have access to what the community really is and what the plant really is and what it can do to improve your life. So it's a reality that we are claiming as a right.
Yeah.
So they have, I don't know, 2 years or 1 year and a half. They're in the Senate with hundreds of plants growing. So everyone can go there and smoke and learn about the plant, and it's an awesome job. I mean,
How do you feel the cannabis has changed flavor since you're big into flavor? How has it changed in the last 10 or 11 years?
I have the fortune. Well, my son was born in one of the most traditional weed towns in Mexico. I'm not. I'm from Jalisco, but he was born there. I mean, I went there and made a living there. Not in cannabis. I'm a musician. As a profession, I'm a percussionist.
Oh, wow.
So, but I've been always growing my own weed since a friend of mine from Spain came here. We met in the forums of music, of Jane the Plank, so I'm a Jane the Fola, BDK.
Yes.
And he came to Mexico to play djembe drums and you know, to learn and see everything that Mexico has to offer as a tourist. And I was showing him Mexico, and he was showing me how to grow because we smoked in a rehearsal that we had with my partner drummers, and he smoked 2 joints in a row. I mean, one after the other, and he started panicking.
Wow.
Ew, what are we doing here? We need to go. Who are these people? I don't even know them. I don't even know you. Who are you? And I said, hey, it's just, you know, the Mexican sativa panic that you're feeling. And he was like, man, if you grow this like it should be grown, this is pure fire. Because he was trying to, where did you get this? And he took seeds to Spain and everything. He introduced me to the forums in Bob, English, and Spanish. We had an exchange of seeds. I brought, he sent me a couple from Tom Hill, a big chunk.
Yeah.
Times cat, which is a 100% Afghani indica that he made an EBL, and a couple out-flowering strains and everything. Yeah. And I just grew, crossed, and sent it to my friends.
So autoflowers are becoming, Fat Budstard, he breeds some autos, and I think autoflowers are popular down here as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but the funny thing is like, I think if you're in the United States, you'd think, well, why would they grow autoflowers? Because they have a 12-12 light cycle. But I think as opposed to a clone that flowers right away, autoflowers will grow, they will frame up, and then they will flower. And it's a very fast process. I think, you know, the photo period seeds also will grow. Like if you have OG Kush seeds, they're going to grow small plants.
Yeah.
You know, down here.
You can select those traits and bring them to your lines.
People are growing Afghanica down here.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
There's definitely people growing it.
There's a couple.
We're so indoor.
In Michoacan.
Yeah.
What Basil was saying about the microplant plants.
Yeah.
Well, they have the coast, and because it's a very big state, they also have mountains.
Yeah.
So they have like the same seed growing here in the coast and there in the mountain.
Yeah.
And expressing different pinus and from the same seed.
Yeah.
Which is very, very interesting because it's the same people and it's a couple hours of driving. And
yeah, and then agave is very popular in Michoacan, and the mezcal. And you know, if you don't know anything,
Jalisco.
Yeah, exactly. Michoacan, Jalisco, like the varieties of agave is just like cannabis. They have several varieties that they create amazing alcohol from.
Oh yeah.
And you can actually taste the plant. That's the biggest thing with the mezcal.
Tequila and mezcal, yes, you can smell it and you should like pour a real drop in your.
Yeah, tequila is just grown for one variety, and mezcal is grown for 13 varieties.
Yeah, but mezcal is the same as tequila, so
it's the same recipe.
Mezcal can only be called mezcal
process.
if it's grown, processed, and bottled in Oaxaca. Otherwise, it's just agave liquor.
Right. Interesting.
So and we want to do, or try and do the same with cannabis in Mexico, which is give it a terroir from the start.
Yeah.
The same way as tequila.
You gotta come over and talk a little bit about this. This is good stuff. So we're talking about terroir. And we got some.
And our mic man.
Yes, yeah, but we're waiting for a guy to come out. He's rolling a Frenchie joint with tobacco.
Shout out to Frenchie.
Big ups to Frenchie. Sad he's gone. He was a great inspiration for all of us. Even people down here were still talking about Frenchie. It was a great loss to the industry.
We had him last year. We had
last year's.
I had the honor to share with him. I got a little chat about Moonbow Hash or Rosa, better say.
So this is Rosa again. He's rolling his
Spliff, a little spliff.
He's got
tobacco
on here. Shitty tobacco. I'm not a tobacco smoker, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say tobacco too.
So as far as terroir, we can get into the discussion of terroir. It's something that we've been talking about in the United States, and nothing's been settled on terroir. I think the idea is there, especially in Humboldt. Farmers have been talking about it for quite a while.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a conversation that's been had in Mexico on the different climates and microclimates and regions. Just like Napa wine has different terroirs and viticultural areas, I think eventually down here they would like to have different areas specifically designated for cannabis.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a lot easier in Mexico because of the
microphone.
We're good.
So
perfect. Or just even it. Yep, that's great.
Yeah, you got it. So it might be a lot easier in Mexico because of the fact that we already have tequila and we already have mezcal. So the mainstream markets are already familiarized with the fact that there's terroir. And there's specific terroir that you're gonna get, right? Besides that, I know a lot of people like Coastal Seed Company that they've got their Michoacans, or DJ Short, right? He's got his Highland High Afghani and the Oaxacan Gold.
Yeah.
So even through cannabis history and the genetic lineage that we have in most modern hybrids, we can still trace them to some Mexican genetics that are specific to their terroir, right? Which is Michoacan, Zacatecas, Jalisco, Nayarit, etc. Most of the cannabis grown here in Mexico is going to be a straight line. So it's going to start from Sinaloa, Sonora, right? And then you got the Golden Triangle there, which is Sinaloa, Chihuahua, and Durango.
Yeah.
Then you got Michoacan, you've got Nayarit, Jalisco, Zacatecas, a little bit of Aguascalientes, Oaxaca, and Guerrero, and a little bit of Chiapas. Then, and the other side doesn't really grow that much weed at all. Well, compared to the fact that these guys export tons to the United States, right?
Right.
But it's still a denomination. I'm sure if somebody had complete access to this market, they could say, well, I want a ton from Michoacan, or I want a ton from Jalisco, or I want a ton from specific states.
Yeah.
But the thing you have to take into consideration is within these specific terroirs as well, there are microclimates as well. So sometimes what would happen with the Greek weed you guys tried is they would have 1 or 2 or 3 communities that were dedicated to the growing of cannabis, put their efforts and their lands together with the cultivation, and put those tons together, right? So let's say my family can only grow 100 kilos. But my cousin can grow another 100, and his brother-in-law can grow another 100, because everyone's family up there, right?
Sure.
And they put everything together and send the tons, but you'd have different seed lots from different specific microclimates.
Right.
Yeah. So because all this has been happening for all these years, I'm pretty sure that the Mexican population is going to be a lot more familiarized with the fact that we can do this and we want to do this, right?
Yeah.
Up to the fact that when it comes legal, you'll probably be able to get it by states. Here in Mexico City, there's a very specific market, which is Tepito market, right? And it's where most people go buy their drugs. If you know the people in Tepito, you know your distributors, you can actually go and say, well, what do you guys have? We've got some Oaxaca, we've got some Michoacan, then we've got name strains, we've got indoors, genetics. And you can go and pick your piece out of the whole lot that you want to smoke still. So, but the thing is, genetics have been so hybridized, right? What we talked about earlier, that it's very hard to find an actual heirloom genetic that's not been hybridized with something modern, right? And a lot of them got crossed to skunks back in the 80s after the drug war and all the paraquat spraying and all that shit happening.
Oh, yeah. Well, so who should we talk to about history? Who has the most knowledge about history of Sensamilla in Mexico? Because I think
Podemos hablar acerca de la historia del cultivo en México y la semilla y
you know, as an American, we owe a lot to Mexico, right?
Yeah.
So I think I want to express kind of
Dr.
the
Cannabis
history.
can talk about it. He's an anthropologist, so he's probably going to have more.
Yeah, we can all, everyone has their contribution, whatever you guys would like to talk about. But I think as an American, I think we have a lot that we owe Mexico for their fight, you know, along with the fight that we fought to grow and to do. You guys have been doing it, and people have died. A lot of people have died. People have suffered. People have gone to prison.
Shout out to all those people.
Shout out to all those people.
Shout out to all those Mexicans that had to escape from Mexico and go grow the bear. Shout out to the bear, all those growers.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
But yeah, man, we owe it to all those legacy growers for sure. And there's some people that have been growing since the 20s. Since I knew this guy in the mountains that had his uncle started growing back in the 20s.
That's amazing. So let's talk about the history of cannabis in Mexico. How far back do you want to go?
I don't know how far you want.
Well, let's talk about, I think Sensamilla is a subject, I think most, especially the kids these days in the United States and probably even in Mexico now starting, they don't appreciate the days that they have now, because before they never had to experience bud with seeds where you'd have to go through stems and sticks and seeds to get rid of it. And all the bud wasn't like that in the United States. But definitely the stuff from Mexico, it was seeded. And so there was a time, though, when they came up with Sensamilla in the 70s.
The 70s, right? The 70s was a special, were special years all around the world. In USA, in California, all the hippies were trying to develop new process with the Mexican, US varieties and Asian ones too. But in Mexico, Mexico was a special case because before the 70s, the wheat was not really good here. Was more or less, there were varieties like Acapulco Golden, Verde Limón, Michoacán, Oaxaca Highland, Oaxaca Purple, mostly sativa species. And in Mexico, the people who used to grow that kind of wheat were peasants and indigenous peasants.
Peasants and indigenous people.
People on the mountains, like the same that the Pacific side in California, and on the mountains where nobody go, they used to grow wheat. Here happened the same. But in that moment, the market was not really developed. So the people in USA smoke regular wheat too in that years. The persons buy that wheat in Mexico and export it to USA. But something happened because with the new crosses in USA and in Canada, in Europe too, in Amsterdam, for example, they developed new crosses, specifically the skunk. And the skunk comes to make some pressure on the market too, because now the people prefer to smoke the new wheat. The traditional wheat, it was not really good. In Mexico, the cartels with Caro Quintero, they brought the Sensamilla, maybe from USA. Nobody.
What region in Mexico did Sensamilla come from?
Nobody knows exactly, but it was a cross between the Pacific varieties, strains, mostly sativa, I think, and they start to grow the sinsemilla. It was a better stuff than the traditional weed.
So sensimilla means without seeds, and so what they did is they separated the males and the females.
Exactly, new growing techniques, maybe using clones too. Something new because now the sinsemilla was the best of the market. That start to do a pressure here in the traditional variety, the traditional strains, because the people now prefer grow the new seed and left the old one. Right. So that become in a new mix from genetics in Mexican and new genetics. It was really interesting. Caro Quintero was the most popular weed businessman. It's like a example in the sense of growing with new techniques and new weed to the market.
Yeah, so the problem with the seeds and it's not because they weren't separating the males and the females, but it's hard when you're growing from seed to find.
Turn that mic.
Can you hear me now? Better?
Yeah, better.
Okay, so the problem and why the Mexican weed is seeded and has been since the 70s, even though they've been able to make sinsemilla, is because it's scaled. When you're growing from seed, it's hard to separate all the true males out, no matter your labor force. It doesn't matter how many people. Some plants express very late, and then even beyond that, we have hermaphrodites. At scale, there's always going to be hermaphrodites, in a population of choppers. 1 in 5. Yeah, and they have choppers. But you think pollinating or spreading pollen?
No, so the thing is, a lot of the people that are growing up in the mountains don't get a chance to camp out where they're growing because the Mexican government, right, the military, will shoot on sight.
Yeah.
So if they catch you camping there, walking or anything, when they get there, they'll just shoot you. So a lot of people will just it's semi-guerrilla growth still, right? Everything that we consume. And if you guys are familiar with guerrilla, you understand that you go watch it grow every 3 to 5 days, right? And in those 5 days, you can have a lot of males open up sacs and pollinate everything. So it's because of that work structure that they have that they're not able to fully control the males that are open pollinating all the time. And I've also seen some things happen, which is they'll have some big plants, some big Afghans flowering. Yeah. And underneath the Afghans, they'll have a small male about this big. Yeah. Right? A couple inches. It'll be completely open and pollinated and everything. Because
is that from the previous year, and that's just a volunteer?
The technique they use, because it's a guerrilla grow, is they'll make a small hole in the ground. They throw 5 seeds per hole.
Just to guarantee.
Just to guarantee, because they grow with regular seeds. So they'll throw 5 regular seeds, and at least you'll get a female out of all those.
So they can afford, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think in the future they're gonna, I'm seeing it happening all over. But feminized seeds they're amazing in the sense that you will get males. You will get they're not true males in that sense, but you will get male expressions in larger populations of feminized seeds. But it's nothing like using regular.
Most of the growers, old school growers, most of the seasoned growers that I know that I've talked about using feminized seeds for their large growth. You also have to take in mind that it's not a 5, 10, 15 plant guerrilla grow. It's a 1,500, 5,000 plant guerrilla grow, right? So that changes the game a lot.
Or 50,000 or 100,000.
Yeah, depending on which state. But
sure.
The people that are mostly producers for themselves and sell to whoever buys, which is the most traditional way of producing, is they'll have small grows. One farmer will have 8 different grows spread across the mountains, and they'll have from 1,500 all the way up to 5,000 plants per patch. Wow. But what they say is that most of the feminized seeds they've worked with are lacking in vigor to survive the conditions that they're working on. So they'd rather, you know, take a chance and take out the males the best way they can, and work with females that have died halfway through because they don't have enough vigor to survive in those conditions.
Interesting. Interesting, which they just haven't sourced them yet.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
They exist.
Yeah. Well,
You guys are
they're
working
used to
on-
buying bulk, right?
Yeah.
So if you buy bulk seeds, they're probably not going to be as good of a selection as
Right, and
as
they only
sourced.
want to pay a very little. When feminized seeds, you know, a bulk from sources could be $25,000 to $50,000.
Yeah.
For a kilo.
Yeah.
And they want to pay $2,000 US for a kilo.
They want to pay $250 for a kilo of seeds, which they
Wow.
call liters, right? So they
Sell
sell
by the liter.
Yeah, they sell it by the liter of seeds.
Yeah, and I think a liter is probably roughly a pound.
Yeah.
Of seeds.
Yeah, roughly.
Okay, well, we have anybody else we're ready to interview?
I just want to add that there in Sinaloa.
They grow really good OG.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's
About the
talk about
seeds,
Sinaloa for a minute.
Yeah.
I think Sinaloa is I think the most well-known region in Mexico for cannabis. They have the most history. They've had the biggest fighs.
Oh, yeah.
And, so tell us.
And the biggest growth.
And the yeah.
Well,
by far.
until 2017, I think.
Yeah.
My town, shout out to La Cruz, was the state and the city with the biggest growth bust
How
in
big?
history. It was, I don't know, 80,000 square
miles.
It
was huge, yeah.
The president came out on national TV. I mean, the mayor, and said, "I knew there was weed somewhere, but I didn't know it was that much." I mean, it was. There was, paratroopers, and it's communicated with the sea. I mean, it's 5 minutes from the sea, from the beach. So there was Marines and troopers and paratroopers and dogs and everything, all the army. So they made the biggest bust until one in Tijuana, I think, or Mexicali, which was bigger under a screen, a mesh. They had a little bit more. But what I wanted to add to the Sinsemilla history, maybe, is that people told me back there in Sinaloa that they brought cannabis to Sinaloa as a cash crop.
Yeah.
Was the Chinese people.
Really?
The
Chinese people brought it to
because
Sinaloa.
they were chased down from the U.S.
when they were helping build the railroads.
Yeah, that's right. They were growing opium, which was their real cash crop.
Right.
But they also had cannabis, which they started growing in Sinaloa because they could go to Cabo, around Cabo, and and for the mountains also cross everything that they produce. So whenever cannabis becomes illegal in America, we all know, Lavender and policies and Nixon and everything in the 70s, it was like the time that they almost eradicated the cultivars from the Sierra, from the mountainside of Sinaloa, which has been grown since the 1800s. And Sinsemilla was a thing that a very small group of people knew about how to grow Sinsemilla, even with clones or picking up males. But they always started growing with in pots, and then making their selections. And they didn't knew about the photo period and everything that's behind it. I mean, a scientific way. But they knew that the plant starts flowering in this, so they started picking males and throwing them away, and transplanting only females to the ground. I mean, a lot of only females. Males were, killed or discarded, and they were planting only females. And Caro Quintero was part of the people the family or the town that knew how to grow sinsemilla, but it came from the Chinese. Chinese told them how.
Interesting facts.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and it dates back to the 1800s.
Yeah. 1850s probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. So Sinaloa, with legalization now, you know, I've heard different things over the last week and from my time in the United States, but they've been talking about it since May. But what are your thoughts on the legalization process and how are they going to give licenses? Are they going to go with the legacy cultivators?
For sure. I mean, the industry is so big that they can either choose to grow cannabis for us stoners or hemp for industrial purposes. So there's a farewell to the criminals and a welcome to new entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, I mean, what used to be called a criminal is now just
I
like in
used
the United
to
States.
tell them, well, because of my talent, we can say, I was invited to grow in the mountains in Sinaloa. Because I was a Rastafari with, dreadlocks and everything. They used to stop me in the street and, hey, Rasta! Throw me a bag full of very nice weed. And I was like, wow, what is it? But I also had my 3 or 4 plants in the backyard, with my recipe and everything, And they used to say, oh, the Rasta smokes good weed, and well, I don't know where he gets it.
Yeah.
So they searched me. I understood that they are like activists, just like us. But the chase, the prosecution, and the illegal status that the plant used to have is what made them a paria, like a low tier part of the society just because we used to grow weed. So there I had the opportunity and the pleasure to smoke weed nicely grown. And it was back in the, 6-7 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, after I did everything, I arrived there playing my drums, and I came out there, like growing cannabis.
Nice.
Well, I arrived growing cannabis in a small way with all my ideas.
It was a small thing and it turned into a big thing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I plan on going to Sinaloa next year sometime. I think I'll be back, in the spring.
You can go. I'm going in 22.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh,
yeah, I'd love to see it. Yeah, I mean,
see if the OG Kush growing.
Yeah.
The OG Kush
I would love to see OG Kush growing. Yeah, people love Kush. It's just one of those things. But yeah, so let's talk about food for a little bit. Mexican food is amazing. My food experience has been about as good as the cannabis experience down here.
Have you had carnitas yet?
Oh yeah, but I've had carnitas in the States that are the best.
Oh yeah,
because I used to be a chef, and one of the guys that I worked with, his nickname was Tacho, and he made the traditional Michoacan carnitas with manteca, and then he would put, which is fat, and then he would use cerveza, like Mexican beer, Mexican Coke, garlic, orange, and a little bit of salt. And I think that's pretty much it. And he would do it in the fat, and it would be crispy on the outside. You want to eat it right when it's hot, because it's crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. And I haven't had it here in Mexico City, but I heard it's pretty good. But I want to try it in the traditional places.
Yeah, but I will take it to some carne asada there in Sinaloa.
Yeah, I bet. But here we have a little bit of everything. I had sushi last night in Mexico City, and it was the best sushi I've had outside of the United States. I've never had sushi in Japan, but outside of the United States, outside of California, in Washington, it's the best sushi I've had ever. And they even did some fusion stuff where we had like sushi tacos, sushi tostadas, and that had fish in them, and they used truffle, and they used really high quality, really high quality fish.
Yeah, there's high kiss.
Tacos is next level. Like you don't get better tacos anywhere in the world that I've been so far, and I've been in places in Mexico. I mean, Al Pastor, amazing. And then what was the steak that we had the second day? I went to the pyramids. We got a tour of the pyramids, and we stopped on the side of the road to a restaurant that was all in the open. And they had barbacoa. The barbacoa was crazy. And they had a quesadilla with hongos with the mushrooms. So,
Delicious.
yeah, everything's amazing.
There's this festival in Michoacan that tributes all the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And they have everything about mushrooms that you can get here in Mexico. I mean, everything that you can eat.
Yeah.
Others that you can't. And it's amazing. If you like good food and mushrooms.
Yeah, so if you guys want the cannabis experience of Mexico City, you guys can probably get my email address, or you can direct message me on Instagram, and I will connect you to the guys down here that will give you the cannabis tour of your life, as far as food and smoke and sites.
Safra Tours.
Yeah.
Safra Tours.
Safra Tours in the house.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing stuff. So yeah, well, thank you guys very much. I really, really appreciate it.
It's an honor.
Peter, is there any questions that you guys have back there that you've been seeing in the chat? I haven't been able to look at the chat.
Yeah, we got all sorts of questions. So I think one is with the obviously the cartel has had a presence, from the 80s on. So what's the dynamic, like they're running avocados now, right? So what are they thinking about when they see legalized cannabis and their place in it? What are the concerns around that, if any?
So you want to answer with the legalization? What's the atmosphere? What are the thoughts on legalization? And what else was that, Peter? Besides thoughts on legalization, kind of how the general mindset?
Just generally, historically, the cartels have historically been involved in cannabis in Mexico, and now that it's legalized, what's everyone's view on what they're going to try to do within the framework of legalization versus what was illegal? Cartels typically come into illegal things. Although avocados are legal.
Well, yeah, there's cartels in everything. I mean, in beds, in avocados, in tomatoes, in potato. There's one family that controls all the potato that grows in Mexico.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
That's amazing.
Well, there's an interesting fact. Well, there is not the same us growers that they cartel members. It's like we are the best football trainers, and they have the Barça, so they need a good trainer for their Messi or their, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know nothing about soccer, but I just wanted to give an example,
right.
an analogy. But it's not the same. I mean, they maybe funded some of them, they maybe had some
This is it's a legal business.
It's illegal,
Everybody's
yeah.
looking at it as the legal future that you can't get in trouble for it as actual enterprise. Everyone's looking at cannabis, including the cartel, as legal enterprise and something that can be done the right way. I think the government has a long way to go, but the people's mindset is already there.
Yes, it opens the possibilities for everyone that wants to enter the market, even if you are not born in Mexico or if you don't know nothing about cannabis, because there's not only the plant. We all know that there's a lot of things around cannabis, and that is the plant that has more industrial possibilities. So us cultivators are like, why would you want to steal carrying weapons? I used to tell them, whenever this gets legal, instead of an AK-47, you're gonna have a Xbox 360 controller, and you're gonna be playing the same and everything, because that's your culture. You can, unlearn what you are being chased, and you have to defend, right? But it's not the same thing, the grower, even though it's very related, than the cartel itself. So
yeah, I mean, when there's people making billions of dollars on cannabis in the United States, and there's people in prison, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we need to get away from that mindset that it's a bad thing, and I think that it's already started. It's going to grow exponentially. I think the acceptance down here is grown exponentially.
For sure.
And you know, with the younger generations and with the older generations, because they see that it's not harmful.
It's only been 100 years of prohibition.
Yeah.
So it's still in Mexican culture. I mean, our grandmothers used to have this alcohol mixed with mota and romero and everything, rosemary and
Yeah.
you know. And whenever you hit your little pinky toe in the bed,
Yeah.
they will just go for that and put some of you. I mean, Mexico is well known that cannabis is something that can feed you, that can heal you, and that can make you easy. Or
Yeah, but it's medicine.
but it's medicine.
But
But over all that,
no matter how you look at it, at the end of the day, it's
and
medicine.
sacred. Here is a very appreciated crop. I mean, it's not like everyone has access to grow it because it's hard. It's been prosecuted for 100 years. But whoever does it tries to do it the best way that can, discarding everyone that only seeks the money benefit of it. I mean, the people that grows, but the one that sells, it's not the same people. Yeah. And that has to be clear because there's like automatically like when you say a grower, you identify a criminal. And that's not true. I mean, there's, as the Dr. Green was saying, they are indigenous people, often living in very, very bad conditions, and they are not appreciated.
So
they sell their weed, if it's good weed or bad weed, doesn't matter. They will sell it, and the people will pay whatever they want for that weed. I mean, $20 a kilo for Oaxaca and with semilla break weed.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's what it costs. 25, $30 a kilo.
So we got both of that.
So
Our joint roller.
Joint roller. He smoked his joint.
I've smoked it.
Joint smoker and roller. Yeah. Nobody roll one for me.
No,
Yeah.
they won't let us smoke in here, but
Oh yeah.
what happens is ready for you.
Nice.
So there's a detail that we also need to say is that cartels control the whole country. Therefore, they control drug traffic. Therefore, they control
agriculture.
Well, agriculture, but they don't control production. They control prices. And what they'll do is they'll tax, depending on the state, the price will go up or down, and depending on the community, but they'll tax around between 50 pesos and 500 pesos a kilo to the producer. And then they can sell it to whoever they want to, right? Sure. But you have to go to the cartel, and it works different in cities than in places where there's production. There's more like rural spaces, right? So you'll have to grow your weed, weigh it, and say, well, I produced 10,000 plants, and they weigh 3 ounces a plant.
I'm expecting this amount of weed, and they will pay you in advance.
Yeah, and they'll go, well, you owe us 3,500 pesos, right? Or 50,000 pesos, or 500,000 pesos, depending on your production. Sure. And you'll have to pay that before the product can actually be shipped out to your buyers. So there's a very controlled market already, and I don't think the outside market see it or the government either. Right. Because of the fact that, people think there's a market coming, but the market's already here. Right. I live in Guadalajara City, and there's this place called Arcos. Saludos, Arcos de Zapopan. It's they've been selling weed and drugs and everything. So you get there, and there's a line for crack and meth and cocaine, and there's a line for weed. Right? And you'll get an ounce for 25 pesos, 50 pesos, and it starts going up, and they have cookie products in cookie bags, right? And they'll sell you $25 to $30 an eighth for cookie products. Already in Mexico, you know, fucking same quality as you could get over there in a dispensary.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, so there's some markets, you know, you can probably get that here. Yeah. And there's also a lot of falsificación, like counter bootlegging, right?
Sure.
So
Oh yeah, in the States we know about bootlegging. They bootleg every top brand.
yeah, so
Same
same
here.
here. There's a lot of distillate going around, for example. Specifically in Mexico, in my experience, the most dangerous part about the whole weed game is in the distillate game, right? Yeah. It's distillate quality. Yeah. No, not in quality. It's just a lot of fucking money. And people, the same as people get killed over cocaine or meth, they'll get killed over distillate. Yeah. And it kind of separates the rest of the weed game and the extract game, right? Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I want to say to, you know, kind of bring on what he was saying. Yeah. So you guys can understand the whole context. Yeah.
Full understanding. Well, thank you. So I wanted to talk about hemp in Mexico a little bit, about hemp and also the medical marijuana. It's currently, medical marijuana is allowed, but it's very like limited, and it's still low THC, correct? Yeah. And as far as hemp, is hemp legal or no?
No, they just gave one permission to a company so they can start exploiting hemp.
Yeah. Is the company Mexican or
Yes.
is it? Okay.
Interesting. So yeah, you don't see a lot of hemp products down here. Like in the United States, you go to the pharmacy, like Walgreens or CVS pharmacies, and they have a section for CBD oils and CBD gummies and CBD.
You're starting to see that. But so the first permit they gave out was namesake for the Walmart conglomerate. Yeah. And what that allowed to do in Mexico was then to import hemp seeds for consumption, right, as a superfood. Yeah. And that was the first time we started seeing cannabis-derived products in Mexico, which was about
Cannabis lives in the
cannabis
shelves of
labels.
stores.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Hemp.
Anyways, hemp.
What the fuck? Hemp? Isn't this legal? Well, apparently not. That was about 7 years ago, right? So depending on where you're at in the country, you'll find some pharmacies that do carry CBD products inside the pharmacy already, right? Yeah. Mostly balms and drops and stuff like that. Sublinguals aren't allowed yet, so sublinguals are still kind of a gray market thing, because a lot of people will import an American product and sell it here as a semi-legal product. Yeah. Semi-legal, yeah.
That's a gray
Loopholes
area.
that will let you, there is like the permission to grow, but not the permission to get the seeds. Right? So what they did after the feed permit was to declare, in the Constitution, that you have the right to a legal source of seeds, but it hasn't been implemented yet. Wow. So there's this giant loophole when you can go to the COFEPRIS that is supposed to give you the permission to grow. They will deny it because they are not capable to give such permission. They don't know the market. They don't know nothing. That's what they call it. And then you go to a judge and you tell them, hey, COFEPRIS is not giving me my right to grow. So the judge is commanded to give you the permission. But it's a tramit that can last 2 years. Wow. So it's like, we're waiting for them to get the infrastructure and to get the mine capital to start something that is already here that they cannot forbid and that will still here even with an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
drop.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, no one's
Cannabis will
stopping
still
this
here.
here. There's no one stopping this. So across the world.
Just to put everyone in context, because I'm pretty sure people in the U.S. are going to know what the fuck coffee trees is. And what we're talking about is it's the Federal Commission for the Protection Against Sanitary Risks.
Like the FDA.
Yeah,
With the FDA.
yeah. So it's a sort of FDA, and the Mexican FDA has to give out permissions that they don't have regulations or parameters to give out. Right. So there's this like 2-year wait for people that have been trying and have all their paperwork ready. But because the FDA doesn't have the paperwork available for all these people that are applying for permits, then everything's just turning into this giant gray market. Yeah.
But it will eventually be regulated.
It will
I
eventually be
guarantee it. It has to be regulated because it's growing as we speak. So eventually they need to put laws in place and regulate it and tax it, just like they do everything else.
But they already do. This is what we're trying to say.
Right.
The production's already here.
Yeah.
And there's already taxation.
Sure.
And there's already a flow. And there's already regulation. And the market's kind of regulating itself through the consumer.
Market, right. It's regulating itself not through the government, but through the consumer. But eventually the government will figure out how to make it.
Take their slice of the cake.
They have to.
Sure. Yeah. But they already are. Right? Because who pays? All right, we're producers. We pay taxes to the guys that can potentially
Everything
do
has
shit to us.
taxes.
But
Everyone has taxes.
but then those guys have to pay taxes to somebody else, and those guys that they pay taxes to directly respond to the government, right? Because nobody wants to say it, but we all know that Mexico's a narco government, right? So they work entwined together, and because of the fact that they do that, we all kind of technically do pay our taxes every time we send a production out there.
Sure. Interesting point of view. Well, yeah, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it, and I think we need Eduardo to come back over, and we need to talk about next year's event.
Yeah. Pues esperamos contar con tu apoyo esta séptima ocasión. Ha sido un honor para Trajinera Canábica y Copa Santa Rosa Green Seeds tenerte en la casa. Thank you very much. Y pues esperamos reunir otros actores mundiales para seguir aprendiendo, para seguir compartiendo el conocimiento ante una posible legalización. Hay que estar preparados, hay que estar educados para poder reducir riesgos y daños en nuestra salud física, económica, social.
So we're waiting for you guys for next year on the 7th edition of this event. We want to bring in other world-class participants and actors into this this new possible legalization that we're going to have in this country. We want to go into it educated. We want to go into it and prepared. And we want to be able to reduce the risk and the damages caused to our health, to our pockets, and to our communities.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you for having me. It was a historical event. This was the first one with legal cannabis, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Amazing. And congratulations on everything down here. I look forward to your successes. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. And Peter, thank you for showing us on Future Cannabis Project. I will be back very soon, guys, to do some other amazing shows in the Bay Area. And,
That's what you said 6 months ago.
I know, it's been busy. I've been in Mexico and all over. We'll see. But yeah, we'll pick you back on schedule, and we got some really interesting stuff coming up. I got Leo from Aficionado. We've been talking about doing some fun shows. So I look forward to talking to you guys, and I hope you have a great weekend and happy holidays. We'll see if I can get another show in before Christmas. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Let me end broadcast.
Yeah.
Right,
we need to
we're-
get
we're
everybody
done.
on pictures. This picture now that it's over.
I'll see you guys, James. I'll talk to you when you're back in the U.S.
Yeah, sounds good, Peter. I'll talk to you
Good,
soon.
good talking, all of you. Thanks for doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, no, everybody. Let's get them all for one. Fat bastard. Butcher. The mask. The mask.
Una foto, por favor.
For sure. Everybody.
Andrés. Ven para acá.
Ah, no salgo.
Sí, no, si salen, si salen.
Estoy del otro lado, más bien.
Thank you. Gracias, chicos.
Gracias.
Thank you
No,
guys.
pues gracias a ustedes, machín. Buen evento. La verdad.
¿Me ayudas a Manuel? ¿Me apoyas
So
a
you're either gonna have the cartels angry or the government. I don't know.
¿Me apoyas a
He has everyone online angry, buddy.
Sí, no.
Everywhere.
Take a fucking cue, man.
You know me in person, they go, are you that fucker? Because that's the way he is.
I'm an internet troll too.
Oh God.
Yes.
Yeah, he's an internet fucker.
biggest.
Comedy.
The one internet troll.
We have our own kind of.
He's got the government and the fucking.
Quita todo
narcos.
esto.
No, porque se me
No,
Because you know, they
más
know
el Carlos, si yo
can't
quito este se
stop
va a fallar.
Hey, buddy,
I mean,
Quita
we
primero.
are
I'm going to travel the way back. Have a nice trip. Let's continue talking. I probably send you the seeds that I I'll send it to you. I'm gonna be in January. I can rent some, but still, if I'm not going, I can send it for you.
I want to do a Sinaloa episode. Hillside.
No, quítalo tú mejor. No sé.
Sí, güey. Ya sabes que dice que ya. Oh, a huevo. Nos vemos.
Hasta luego, que esté muy bien.
Nos vamos a quedar, ¿verdad? No, güey, voy a ver a Juan y me acabo la salida. Ya me voy a ir, güey. ¿Cómo estás, hermano? Muchas gracias por todo. Estamos viviendo. Carnal, ahí andamos. El día que quieras que te pase una cita, me dices y te acabas de a ver si quedaste hacemos una collab, güey.
¿Quieres un mezcal?
Ay, todos están bien bonitos.
Actually, if you ever want to do one online, let me know.
O sea,
Yeah. You can get my, I'll give you my number.
Es que se no, se me, la verdad se me fue.
ahorita se cuenta que ahorita no tengo nada porque ya vendí todo lo que había hecho.
Sí. ¿Qué te dijo?
Que ya viene, estaba por generar la Naya, de hecho.
Ah, perfecto.
O sea, ya no está.
Sí, es de Puebla. ¿Ya los probaste?
Perfect. Send me a message and you guys want to go to lunch a little bit?
Esto ya no está
Is,
grabando, ¿verdad?
food?
Ya.
¿Quiere ir a comer o algo? Ya almorzamos. ¿Tú no has almorzado?
I gotta leave for the airport. No, I had breakfast already. Maybe a
No,
lunch,
no,
some
no.
tacos.
Ah, bueno, unos tacos.
Yeah, tacos. When I have to go to the airport, I gotta leave at 2:15.
Se tiene que ir como a las, como a las,
Ya,
como una hora
terminar.
más o menos.
Ok. Ya aguardo que se vayan.
Thank you.
Que se prepare, que se prepare.
start to